Hello everyone, I am Menegis from our Diablo, joined today by Wyatt Cheng, Senior Game Designer,
Hey everyone.
and Rob
Foote.
Foote, Lead Game Producer. And we just came up from the opening ceremony where we saw the Necromancer, the D1 remake to be put into Diablo 3, as well as some other things, and we've got some questions for these guys, and hopefully we'll get some more information out of them.
All right.
So to start off with recreating Diablo 1, what sort of challenges did you guys run into with trying to recreate, a 20-year-old environment to pull it into the Diablo 3 engine?
Well, I think one of the challenges I think we had was the team became very so the idea behind this 20th anniversary patch was basically that to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Diablo. So then, as the idea started rolling in development, it's like, okay, yeah, we could redo some of Diablo 1. And then it became, we can redo all of Diablo 1.
Yeah.
And then it became, we're going to add 4 bosses interspersed throughout the levels. Oh, can we add a visual filter? So I think it was very good feature creep. So over the course of development, people would come up with great ideas, and then we just started adding it. And once it started coming together, it ended up being really cool. We're going to also, you'll learn more in the panel later today.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's some trickiness in trying to figure out, where do you draw the line, right? Like, you get to bring your Diablo 3 character into a Diablo 1 dungeon, or are we going to try and recreate characters, and how about items and stuff like that? And so the dungeon is Diablo 1, but the character is your character.
Okay.
But it's almost like your character walked through a portal into another alternate reality.
Okay.
Because you get to take your Diablo 3 character, and when you go through the portal, you end up in a world, filtered through glorious retrovision.
Yep.
And with the retrovision filter, things really are pixelated. And the sound effects are put through a filter so that it sounds a little more like the 90s version of the game.
Okay.
And like Frank said, we do lock you to 8 individual facings.
yeah.
So very similar to
So
Diablo
we truly
1.
are locked to the cardinal direction.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you get to see your witch doctor, your barbarian, your crusader, your demon hunter, as if they were in Diablo 1.
Okay. Speaking of the items, will we see more of the items that were popular in Diablo 1? Will those be reintroduced into Diablo 3?
Yeah, the item system is, at the core, we decided to keep the Diablo, it's your character.
Yep.
And because it's your character and because it's a Diablo 3 hero, the items are Diablo 3 items.
Okay.
We have put in a few retro tribute items.
Okay, and that's kind of what we're...
there's a godly plate of the whale, and it's more like a nostalgic throwback item.
Okay.
It's not something that your Diablo 3 character would wear, but it's fun.
It's
to
more
have
of a
in there.
remembrance.
It's a remembrance.
Okay.
And then there's also a bonus item just for taking part. Is one of the rewards for getting to the end of the 16 floors is going to be Diablo 3's first legendary gem that can be put into your helm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be added as well.
Okay. Speaking of the filter, is that filter something that we're going to be able to take out of this alternate reality Diablo 1, or is it just kind of that's where it is?
Yeah, the filter only applies to the area you're
Okay.
playing in when you're playing the anniversary event.
Okay.
And it's actually going out on the PTR next week, so players can hop in next week and check it out right away and give us feedback.
Okay.
Always good to get feedback. And then the anniversary of Diablo, the 20th anniversary, it was actually released on December 31st, was the street date. We'll actually have the patch live early January.
Okay.
So for the month of January, the event will run the entire month. And then at the end of January, so don't miss it. So
Okay.
definitely play during the month of January so you can check it out. And then it'll recur every January.
Okay.
After that.
It's a limited time event.
Okay, so that would be good to know. So shifting to the Necromancer, what is the primary stat of the Necromancer?
It's intelligence.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll be an int-based class, so you'll want int and vit, and the resource for the Necromancer is it's essence.
Yep.
It doesn't regenerate on its own. You use it for quite a few of your skills, but we're also bringing back the idea of using corpses.
Okay.
So the corpses almost act as a second resource for the Necromancer, so you can blow them up with corpse explosion, and we also have a few other skills that are going to make use of corpses as well.
Okay. Going along with that with like the design of the Necromancer, what challenges did you guys face with trying to keep a delineation between the Witch Doctor and the Necro?
Yeah, so one of the first things that our lead visual effects artist, Julian Love, who's also spearheading a lot of the effort along with Travis Day on the Necromancer, they got the whole team together in a room and we sort of brainstormed out what do we want to see out of the Necromancer, you know? And we said, okay, we looked at all the Diablo 2 skills, but we're not recreating the Necromancer, we're reimagining the Necromancer for Diablo 3.
Sort of like the Crusader was a reimagining of the Paladin.
Right, or
sense.
even the Barbarian is a reimagining of the Diablo 2 Barbarian, where you have a couple throwback skills, and we're going to be seeing Bone Spear and Corpse Explosion come back, but there's going to be a whole bunch of new skills too, and we're really focusing on themes like blood and bone, and being a commander of the dead.
Okay, so it will have a full kit, just like any of the other
It'll be a
classes.
full class, right?
It'll be a full class.
I think also too, like we are very. I think the feature team, the Necromancer feature team, is very cognizant of the Witch Doctor. Like we all play Diablo 3, we're aware of it. I think one of the things that really separates and makes the Necromancer feel distinct is like Wyatt was saying, you are the commander of the dead. So specifically, you have a bunch of raised skeletons. You're going to be able to actually click. I don't know if you played the demo.
Yep.
You're actually going to be able to click the skeleton button, and it the skills basically command
and
skeleton,
they go
whatever you're killing. So say you're fighting, you get to the Rift Guardian, you're like, get on them, and then it basically feels like they're not just ambling about fighting whatever's around them. They are listening to what you're telling them to do.
Okay. So will the Necromancer, when it releases, will it have 4 class sets? Will it be 3? Do we know yet?
We are working on many class sets, but I think the initial release of the Necromancer is going to have 1 or 2. We haven't decided yet.
Okay.
And that's very intentional. And the reason is because we found that we don't always know how the community is going to take the tools that we've given them in terms of the skills and the legendary items and the sets. And if you think back even to the way that the Crusader, with Reaper of Souls or any of the other classes, they all started with 1 or 2 sets. And then we evolved and got a 3rd set and then a 4th set, and we went back and we revisited old sets. And I think that there's almost a collaboration that happens between the community and the development team, where we want to see where the Necromancer goes and takes on a life of its own, and maybe make sure that the 3rd and the 4th set we're planning for that the 3rd and the 4th set for the Necromancer. We're going to be developing those kind of in response to what kind of play styles we think people, what play styles people say they want to see.
Can we get a little bit of a sneak of what one of the sets might do for the Necromancer?
What's funny is that the sets often are iconic and sometimes break the rules of what the baseline class is. And so we don't actually know just yet. Right now we're fleshing out the full skill set.
Okay.
And then we'll be looking at how legendaries can augment and also break the rules.
Yeah.
And then we'll be also looking at how the sets complement that.
It'll be interesting to see what with the ring set that lets you, if you're not wearing any sets.
The Legacy of Nightmares.
Legacy of Nightmares set, yes. How that will play into the Necromancer.
Yeah, I mean, we had 6 skills playable right now that you've checked out. We're also going to be showing off 2 additional skills in the panel, so definitely check that out. So you'll be able to see them. You won't be able to play them on the floor, but you'll at least be able to see a first look.
Okay.
And then, like Wyatt said, the team's hard at work fleshing out the remainder of the class.
Okay. So with console, we learned through the press kit that seasons are coming to console.
Yes, they are. That's a big request.
Yeah. So what made you guys finally pull the trigger and do it?
It's I think seasons are a huge replayability factor for players. I think a lot of people really like the idea of being able to experience Diablo fresh again, and it's something the players have been asking for, and it's something the development team was excited to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the team always strives for feature parity between console and PC. We want the players to have the same tools in their toolkit on both, so I think it was something the team could get behind.
Okay, so kind of going to the seasons a little bit, as we kind of know, as kind of the darker side on the console side, that there's usually rampant cheating or modding of items. What's going to be done to kind of keep the leaderboards from just filling up with cheaters, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll preface by saying, we can't promise anything. We're
Yep.
going to do our best,
Yep.
and we'll monitor the situation. And I am hopeful because it's worth noting that seasons are coming to the next generation, the Ultimate Evil Edition on PS4 and Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the hacked characters, they actually make their way into the game through the character import from either a previous generation, like on
From the PlayStation 3 or the
PS3.
Mm-hmm.
A season is a place where you make new characters from scratch.
Okay.
And so it's going to be in this new environment. Again, it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
It's something that we'll keep an eye on, but we're hopeful.
Okay. Yeah, I understand how.
And at the end of the day, I also think that we're emphasizing sort of your friend community more in terms of seasons on console. Okay. I think that'll be important too. One of the things that, like when you open up your leaderboard, it actually defaults to your friends list.
Okay.
Not to
the
global list. And so we're looking for some ways that we can change that too. A lot of the season's coming over, so we have those like friend-based leaderboards.
Okay.
We're also bringing over the full season journey.
Okay.
You'll be able to get your 6-piece set the same way.
Okay.
The journey's in there. And we actually had to find ways to incorporate portrait frames because the portrait frames weren't accessible on console before. And so we've worked the portrait frames into some places on console.
Okay. That's interesting. The difficulties and all that to get
Yeah.
it to work, even to get it to work to begin with. So, favorite skill for the Necromancer right now?
I like them all, but I mean, corpse explosion tugs at the nostalgic heartstring. If you play it, it feels great. It looks great. So I think for me, I think the corpse explosion and I guess Bone Spirit is also pretty great and iconic too.
Yeah. For me, it would probably be a new skill called Blood Rush.
Okay.
And I think it kind of highlights sort of how Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 are different. We didn't just copy Diablo 2 into Diablo 3. That wouldn't work. Diablo 3 is a different game. We had to, I mentioned reimagine the Necromancer for Diablo 3. And a lot of this because, the very first implementation we did of a Necromancer internally, a lot of people said, this feels wrong. And they said, what feels wrong? It's exactly a Diablo 2 Necromancer. We've got, kind of 4 or 5 skills laid out. But in Diablo 3, just the rhythm of using, a cooldown skill or a movement skill or having, managing your skeletons, it was kind of, we stress your 6 skills a lot more, and every class has a movement skill of some kind. Mm-hmm. And the Necromancer didn't have a movement skill.
Right.
And so we created one. And
okay.
so Blood Rush, the Necromancer, it's almost like you shed off your skin and turn into a stream of blood that moves to a new location and then
reconstitutes yourself.
Constitutes in a new location. It's gruesome, and it sort of really exemplifies that blood theme that we're doubling down on.
Okay, so looking ahead to probably the more distant future than what we know of, because we know the anniversary event and the Necromancer is coming sometime in next year. Anything for beyond that?
There's a lot coming. I mean, I would say that the Necromancer and the Anniversary Dungeon are, sort of the headliners, right, for the BlizzCon weekend. But there's more stuff coming.
Yeah, I mean, there's some real quality of life improvements coming in 2017. So I played the Witch Doctor last season. I had Helltooth and I had Jade, and like switching back and forth between those two sets is time consuming. So
or switching between any any
Any
class trying
class
to do
sets.
that.
Yeah. So we developed the Armory, which is an in-game equipment manager in Diablo 3, where you'll be able to rapidly, once you set up your sets, you'll be able to go into the equipment manager in the Armory, click a button, boom,
And switches.
you swap out your set.
Okay.
It makes it a lot easier, a lot more painless.
So it works kind of the same way that the WoW equipment swapper works.
You'll also, it will change out your skills.
Okay.
It'll change out your
Can I powers? It's interesting. We had a few unique challenges
Okay.
for Diablo. For example, as we started to implement the feature, we found, hey, I have a Bane of the Trapped, and the Bane of the Trapped is in this ring for this set.
Yep.
But it's in this ring for this other set, and I want to actually move the gem over
With that one click.
With that one click, because
Yep.
that's part of my setup. And so, and then what happens when if I, for example, level up a second Bane of the Trapped, and then I use one of the Bane of the Traps, because now they're different levels,
And now you have two
then I
different-
use it for a Cul-de-Sanc's augment, and so what we actually do is we'll say, we don't remember the exact Bane of the Trap that you use, we'll just say, we know you like using Bane of the Trapped in this set.
Okay.
So we're going to find the highest rank Bane of the Trapped in your stash and use that one and stick it in.
Okay.
So it's handled the way you'd
And
expect.
it'll be the same with gems. Like if you're up leveling your gems, it'll know, you want an amethyst in your helm, so
Okay.
it'll know that, and then it will just pick the highest
So
amethyst.
the system will just be smart enough to realize what you
Yep.
had, and
Yep.
that's
Yeah, and it tries to do exactly what you would expect.
okay. That is something that people have been asking for a long.
People have been
time.
asking, and it was a big ambitious feature for us.
Okay.
I think sometimes people don't always realize the details that go into game development.
It sounded easy, but then when you start peeling the onion, you start to realize there's some unique challenges that,
Oh, I'm sure.
that our engineering team, Kevin Hassett and some of the other engineers did a great job figuring that out.
Yeah, handling the gems, handling when an item's gone, handling duplicate items, and to top it all off, doing the whole thing on console as well.
Oh, so this will be a console feature too.
And it's going to be on
Okay.
both console and PC.
Okay, so this will probably be considered a 2.5 patch, I would assume, or at some numbering.
It'll be in 2017.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's perfect enough.
Yeah.
So the
Last question.
Okay, so character packs. We heard Frank talk about the Necromancer coming in a character pack, which comes with the Necromancer and some stash tabs and and some other things.
2 stash tabs, 2 character slots, and some cosmetics.
Yeah. So is this perhaps an approach that we might see going forward? As the game evolves, maybe not necessarily next year, but as time to come, like for say maybe with a druid, to have the same concept done. Is this something that we might see going forward as a way for the microtransaction model to kind of come into Diablo?
Well, we have no announcements to make at this
Yeah.
time. I would say the team was working really hard on, when we had the initial brainstorm for features, we often do this, we'll get it together as a team saying, hey, we want to make new features for 2017, what are some features we could do?
Okay.
Number one, near unanimous, was the Necromancer. Like once it got thrown out, and then I think we started to ask our questions like, this is a big endeavor. Like this is a huge feature. Last class we did was part of an expansion. So
Yep.
immediately just the thought of trying to produce a full class, it's a lot of work. And I think that
sure.
kind of helped to create the Rise of the Necromancer pack idea,
Yeah.
where we could then include stuff that people have been asking for in addition, the stash tabs and the extra character slots, and making it feel like a great value for players.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, characters making a new hero class in Diablo is a really, really big deal. It's probably one of the biggest endeavors for any game team. Well, I don't want to speak for the other game
Right.
teams, but if you think about for Diablo, we have to do over 20 skills. We've got 5 runes per skill.
Yep.
We've got all of the passives. We have all of these legendary sets. We've got all the
Custom
legendary
legendaries,
items.
yeah.
And then we are voice recording in 13 languages, right, across male and female for the entire. It's
a big
an
deal.
enormous
Yeah.
amount. It's
Yeah.
an
It was-
enormous amount.
It was important to us that it feel on par with every other class that you play in the game. It didn't feel any different. So,
Okay.
that's something the team wanted to commit to.
All right. Well, that's all the time we've got. I'd like to thank Wyatt and Rob for sitting down with us for a little bit today. And,
Yeah. And thanks for taking care of the Reddit community.
Yes.
I know that that you guys do it because you love the game,
Absolutely.
and the Reddit community is great.
Well, thank you for making a game
Yeah.
that we all love. So we appreciate it, and see you next time.